Hello again, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to another edition of Bye Bye Narcissist. We are your hosts. I am Dr. Fred Holtz, licensed psychologist, and I'm with
Dr. Bryman, licensed psychologist.
And the best way to reach us, the best way to reach me is to call 516-888-3000. 516-888-3000. It's right on the screen, actually.
Mine's 516-404-3753.
And we do have a joint website called byebyNarcissist.com, and there's information there. We're also on all social media, and it's always Bye Bye Narcissist. So we're on Instagram, Bye Bye Narcissist, YouTube, Bye Bye Narcissist. Anywhere you go, it's Bye Bye Narcissist. We are also co-authoring a book. You guessed it. It's called Bye Bye Narcissist. It has a subtitle, but we're not 100% sure yet.
Yeah.
We're on chapter 6, I believe. It's moving along, and you'll be the first to know. I wanted to mention right away that next week we're having a narcissist trivia contest. You can test what you know about narcissism, about what we spoke about here. 50 trivia questions, and the prize is $100, which you will get immediately. We're going to mail it to you, or Zelle you, or something.
Or Venmo.
Or Venmo. But this is serious. It's $100, and there's not that many of you in the audience, so someone's going to win. We're going to talk about it again a little later. Today, though, we have a special guest. Some of you may know Joy Collins. Joy Collins is usually the first person to log in and watch us. And Joy Collins is going to speak about her journey with a narcissistic parent, first of all, but also her journey, what she feels that she was a narcissist and she's recovered now. So it's a very interesting story and it's very inspirational. So shall we?
We shall.
Okay. Okay. So
hi, Joy.
Without further ado, we're gonna split the screen and invite Joy Collins to join us.
There she is. Hi.
There she. Hi, Joy. And by the way, the rest of the audience, please feel free to ask questions of us, and please feel, especially today, ask questions of Joy as we get further into her story. So, Joy, we're going to pick your brain today. First of all, can you describe what it was like to grow up with a narcissistic mom? Maybe some of the things that she did, or some of the things that you felt as a child growing up with a narcissistic parent.
Well,
we can't hear her. Oh, never mind.
It was always very negative, and that always get criticized for everything I did. Nothing is ever good enough for my mother. And she liked to compare me to other people. Like, oh, look at her, she's prettier than you, something like that. Or look at him, he's smarter than you. How come you're not as smart as him?
And that can be devastating over time. It can be devastating even one time.
Yes.
But we tend to internalize what we hear. Did you find yourself eventually internalizing some of those things that your mom used to say?
There's a lot of anger. I definitely have anger issues because of that.
Mm-hmm. Did she compare you to siblings or to friends that you knew? Who would she compare you to?
Yeah, siblings and friends. People similar age.
And by the way,
neighbor's kids.
It's probably a delay. Just so everybody knows, so Joy didn't go no contact with her mom. She's still in contact with her mom. So she's learning to disengage as opposed to just leaving. So some of these things that she's talking, like you said, that happened in childhood. I know Joy personally, and it's happening. It still happens. You just got.
Yes.
We made a joke about it a couple of weeks ago. So Joy's a university professor, and her mom was complaining that someone else was a university professor at a what do you call it?
Another college?
Another college, right?
Federal.
A federal, that's it, a federal
okay.
job, a federal. And for those viewers, please introduce yourself, say hello, and you can ask any questions as we move along. But we want to say hi, so
Yeah.
check in with us. Where you from, and let's hear your name.
Yeah.
We're seeing something in front of the screen there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just so you know. Anyway,
Joy, was your dad in the picture? Was there who lived in your house growing up?
Yes, my dad. He was very distant. He does his own things. We were not very close. We were not very close, actually. And also, I have two sisters. I'm the middle.
Two
child.
sisters?
I'm the middle child. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
hi, I just want to say hi, Christina Metherall. Hi, Christina Metherall from Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Christina, Massachusetts. I don't know that you've been on the show, so welcome.
Hi.
We have a special guest today, Joy Collins. So what do you think the effects of being in a narcissistic home? I know that you used to say that your father was like drained of his energy from your mom, who's a narcissist. But so what was it? What did it feel like as a child or teenager? Like, did you know something was off? Did you know, like, what was your perception of it?
I thought that was normal. So I thought my mom's behavior, how she raised us. I thought every family was like that.
Did she do the same to your sisters?
Yes.
There wasn't a favorite?
No.
One thing I happen to know, and you just correct me if I'm wrong, Joy. Her younger sister has a disability, and I've actually witnessed this. The mom puts her down for the disability and for her looks and for the fact that she has freckles. Like anything in the world, she'll find to put them down to this day.
Yeah, me too. Like my eyebrows.
Oh yeah. Her eyebrows weren't good enough. Can you lean in and show your eyebrows, please? I want to ask our audience: is there anything wrong with those eyebrows?
No.
There's 9 people in the audience. Is there something wrong with those eyebrows? And like, you weren't like. I remember. So Joy happens to be pregnant, and her mom said she's not fat enough, and then she said you're too fat.
Did she do that to your dad? Criticize your dad?
Yes. Everybody.
Everyone. And he noticed it? Did you ever talk to him about it?
We don't talk about it, but they are always
we don't
fighting
talk about it, but
because,
they are always fighting because
you know the things she said it's infuriating.
She said it's infuriating.
And my dad couldn't stand it.
And my dad couldn't stand it. So they're always
arguing all the time.
Well, our little hi Cheryl, how you doing, Cheryl? Thanks for checking in. Our little audience thinks your eyebrows are just fine. Great eyebrows.
Thank you.
Great eyebrows. There's
Thank you.
I just had to point that out. We're going to correct all the things your mom said, okay? And the rest of you, please check in and introduce yourselves. This is a unique opportunity. So I forgot what I was going to ask. So Joy, you once said that like your mother kind of triangulated and kind of split you and your dad, because you said that a little bit you regret that you didn't have a better relationship with your dad because your mom kept putting him down. So explain that a little bit.
Whenever they fight, my mom would then afterwards complain to me about my dad, what he did. And so
we lost your audio. We lost your audio. I'm sorry. She froze.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, are you on the right network?
I'm on the fast page. Yes.
Oh boy. Okay, you should, but that's okay. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Don't change it now. Tell me. Just repeat whatever you just said.
Whenever my parents fight, then afterwards my mom will complain to me about my dad. My dad did this, he did this to me, so mean to me. And as a kid, didn't. You know what I mean? I didn't hear my dad's side.
Right.
So I took sides with my mom.
It's also hard to process stuff like that as a kid, you know.
It is. Did your mom talk about the siblings to each other?
Yes.
Badly about like the siblings, your siblings to each other? Like if your sister did something wrong, she would talk behind her back.
Yes.
How'd you feel with that?
Like for instance, like my mom wants to tell me that let's say she didn't like my shirt, that it's wrong color. Instead of saying, oh, I don't like your shirt, it's the wrong color, she would say, your older sister said your shirt is the wrong color.
That's a typical technique. It's I call it a false consensus.
Yeah.
Where like everybody thinks your shirt is terrible. Meanwhile, nobody said a word about it, I'm sure. But it makes them feel they're justifying their own opinion. Oh, even your sister thinks this. And
It's delusional.
it is delusional.
And I would be mad. I would be mad. But now I know. But now I know my sister.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's why they split people.
Yeah. Isolate. Yeah.
Because of course you would be mad at your sister because how dare my sister talk about my shirt to my mother? But that's not what happened.
Yeah.
But that's an excellent point. That's the definition of splitting. Like when you like get in between two people and you somehow manipulate them so they don't like each other or they suspect each other. Now your mom may have been doing it to kind of bolster her own opinion, but the effect is the same. So do you think it affected, and by the way, this I happen to know this stuff still goes on. This is not like some deep dark childhood stuff. This happened like last week. You know, some of it.
How your response must be different, right?
Yeah. That's my question. How do you maintain the relationship that you do have with your sister, because you do have one? How do you maintain that given the like this force that is trying to split you?
Well, now I know. It's my mom who wanted to say those things, but
Could you lower it a bit?
She didn't get mad at her. Right? Instead, what it means to get mad at my sister, or something like that. So I don't get mad at my sister. I know it's my mom's doing.
That's good.
Right.
That's a healthy attitude. Hi, Christopher. How you doing? Welcome back to the show. Hi, y'all. I want to find out as much as I can because I'm concerned about my 10-year-old and her life with her narcissist mom and the influence that she's telling my daughter and my older boys and here's the question.
Yeah, for Joy.
For you, Joy, how old were you when you and your sisters figured it out? Have you forgiven your dad? Ooh, good question, Christopher. So let's answer the first question first. And Christopher, you know Joy Collins. You just never saw her face. So I'm introducing the two of you. Okay, so how old? First of all, was there a consensus with your sister? Did you ever sit there in a room and say, "Hey, Mom is doing it again," or like?
Or watch out, she's gonna do it again.
Yeah, watch out, she's on today or whatever.
We realize it now, but I feel like it's too late. I feel like if we were to slip nervous, maybe we would figure it out sooner.
What's too late? What do you mean? With the relationship you have with your sister?
No, but my dad.
Because he passed away.
That's right.
I hear you. She was answering both questions at the same time.
Okay.
She's very sophisticated. So, have you ever talked to your sister? Like, have you ever said that Mom is a narcissist? Like, even as an adult, has that topic ever come up with your sister?
More recently, but not. When we were younger. I would say the past year or two, when I'm more familiar with what narcissistic personality disorder is.
Got it.
Then I started to talk to my sister about it, but before that, my mom, we never really talked about her siblings. My mom, they are like that too.
Yeah, you said it's a whole family. It's a whole branch of the family. They're all narcissists.
Yeah.
So how old were you? Is that the question?
So how old were you when you first realized there's something like you? So you said like you thought that was normal, and that's a very common reaction to any kind of difficulties with parents. You don't know any different. So how old were you when you realized, okay, I'm not from a family that functioned normally in that regard?
In my early 20s, I graduated from college, and I was at my first full-time job. That's kind of when I realized there was something wrong.
How'd you realize it?
Well, because college is different from work. And so, I did well in college grades, and I had friends, but I wasn't doing so well. You know, at my job. And I was just wondering what's wrong with me, how come people didn't like me, or they have negative news about me, so I started to wonder what's wrong with me. And that's when I started to read more like self-help books.
Can you hold on? Because that's going to be the main thing that we talk about today, is like, how did she get out of it? But first, I want to finish Christopher's question. Also, anyone who's watching, please introduce yourself and say hello, and check in. The second part, this is kind of important. Have you forgiven your dad? Or have you forgiven your mom? But Christopher's question is, have you forgiven your dad?
I have.
Okay. For what? Like for what?
For not sticking up for you? For what?
I think it wasn't about forgiving, that I was accepting of this role in the family that we're just distant and we're never going to be close. I think he has some issues of his own besides dealing with my mom as a narcissist. So I just accepted who he was. So I wouldn't say I've forgiven him because I you know what I'm saying, that I just accepted who he was, and
I mean, that's right. Yeah, I think I was going to say, like, so you've accepted a little bit about what he was going through, and that and maybe he wasn't so bad after all, stuff like that. I know he had his own issues. He had his own, issues, but some of them were related to being not present because of your mom.
Some of it is, like I said, his own issues as well. It might not be related to my mom.
Got it. Okay, so now the main part about what I wanted to get to today, and we spoke about this before, but it's nice to have you here. And please, anyone who's on, feel free to ask questions directly to Joy, like Christopher did. Thank you. And check in. Let's see who you are. And tell your friends, and like us, and follow us, and spread the word, and forward, whatever you do. Share.
I have a Christopher that kids should see a therapist. And
she's cut out. Wait, I
say that again, Joy.
We lost you.
An advice for Christopher is that perhaps he can get his kids to see a therapist who understands, what a narcissist can do to her children.
This is a good point. So in my private practice, we have a few families. I can't mention names or anything, but we feel like the other spouse's parental alienation is a big issue. So it comes up that one, narcissism or not, like one parent alienates the kids towards the other parent. It's common. So I think that may be what's going on with Christopher here.
So they talk badly about the spouse to the kid.
Yes, and actually purposely try to turn the kids against the parent.
Yeah.
So Joy, this is the part of the conversation I want people to pay attention to. And everyone, please ask questions. So Joy, at one point you told me that you felt you were a narcissist. So can you describe some of the things, some of the qualities you think made you a narcissist at that time?
because I was raised that way.
Because
So
I
thought
was
it
raised that way,
just
so I thought that was normal
have
just to have
you know that
that
checklist you have.
checklist you have.
I checked off every
I
one of
checked
those.
off every one of those.
What, like lack of
I don't remember every one
You
of
can recite them
You
again.
can
I'll tell
recite
you
them
yes or
again.
no.
I'll tell you yes or no.
Yeah, it's like lack of empathy.
Yes.
Yes.
Feeling self-important.
Yes.
Yes.
Being manipulative of others. I mean, those are three of the main ones. There's other things.
Like just not consciously aware. Levy has a question.
Sure.
Do you think the narcissism of your mom is a cultural thing? As an Asian American, I've had similar experiences of constantly being compared.
That's an excellent.
I actually agree. Yeah.
But so do you feel it went beyond? Like, I'm well aware. Like, first of all, Asians don't seek therapy at all. Like, in general, they're very.
Now
they do.
Bigger percentage.
We have like 15% of our practice.
It's
But
a lot.
the closer they are to first generational, Chinese in your case, the more they will not seek therapy. But above and beyond, do you feel your mother's narcissism goes beyond cultural expectations?
That's my phone.
It's okay, let it go.
It's almost done.
I would say
I
yes.
would say yes,
and
that
perhaps that's
perhaps
part of the
that's
culture
part
of
of the culture of
narcissism.
narcissism.
What do you think?
What do you think?
Well, I happen to be close to the situation. I feel it's above and beyond cultural norms. I mean, from what you described, there was like physical abuse too. There was other things going on. It was more than just the narcissism. I think it goes beyond just cultural, and I think you probably know that at this point in your life.
I wonder what Levy thinks of it.
Yeah, so Levy is our wonderful producer who's behind the camera and behind the computer and behind the speakers here and microphones. What do you think, Levy? In the case that you're talking about, like, do you think it's beyond culture in your case?
Do you want me to speak or type it?
You can speak.
I would say it's part cultural, but there's definitely those exceptions where, like, there's a similarity. Like, I have friends that are Asian American, right? And we all have similar stories, but I think it's cultural, and then for the most case, it's not where it's different from Joy is that when we get older, it kind of goes away, and that's the case now. It goes away, and it's kind of like the upbringing that we've had. But there's also cases like Joy where it does, it doesn't stop.
It's like I said, I happen to know the situation. It doesn't stop. It's still there.
Is it more endemic for women or men?
Personally, it's that I've never had for me personally, it was more my dad.
Oh, okay.
And
so
then,
dad
but
and
for other people, like Joy, it was their mom. So there was never like a correlation was a mom or dad. It was usually one parent. So in that way it would work. So it's opposites attracting.
yeah,
In that way.
they're so anxious that their kids may not turn out
I mean,
the way they want.
I'm aware, so in Joy's case, like, her mom puts her down, her mom puts the sister down. I mean, I've witnessed it. It's not a perceptual thing, but like, I don't think all Asian parents put down their disabled daughter. I don't think it. And everyone's an adult. When I say her younger sister, the younger sister's 40 years old. It's not like a kid, and it's still going on. So I think it's safe to say, Joy, that some of it's cultural. Of course it is, but in your case, so a sophisticated therapist has to look at the culture and consider that. But I'm telling you, it's above and beyond just the culture.
I have a patient that I do family therapy with, and the father is constantly criticizing. And even when I say, "Look, you just criticized," no, I didn't.
So,
they just don't know. They don't know what they're doing. It's unconscious,
So you felt you were a narcissist at some point in your life, correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, two things. One, how and when did it dawn on you that, wait a minute, I might be a narcissist? There might be, or narcissistic aspects of my personality. When did that solidify? Was there an event, or was there something that happened?
Well, I didn't know this term, this kind of personality existed until more recently.
Until she met me.
But before that, I knew there was something wrong with me. My first job out of college, I didn't perform too well. And I started to wonder what was wrong with me. Was it because of my skills, social skills? So I started to read books on self-help to improve myself.
What trait sticks out in your mind that you used to do? Did you devalue people? Did you discard friends? Did you triangulate? Like, what did you do? That is, even at work, like, what happened?
I didn't have empathy, and I was not a good listener. I just wanted to talk about myself. And
she was not a good listener.
Other people had to say.
Okay.
So you weren't a good listener, and you didn't care what other people had to say. You just talked.
No. Yes.
Let me read.
Yes.
While you think of another trait, let me read Christopher's comment. And everyone else, please feel free to ask questions or introduce yourself, say hello. Christopher saying she blamed everything on me, and yes, she's convinced the kids of that, even though I left because I literally would have died if I would have stayed, and she was worried more about losing our house than losing me. And after I left to Iowa, they diagnosed me with kidney disease. Oh my gosh. And I've since had a kidney transplant 2 years ago, and I've barely heard from my kids because she told the kids that it was all about me leaving, so they don't communicate at all.
That's sad.
I'm sorry to hear that, Christopher, but I'm glad it's 2 years later, and it seems like you're doing okay, I hope. But that's like the roughest thing. You're going through a medical thing, and your kids don't even check in with you. Narcissists are powerful in that way, especially when they have young minds to manipulate, and you're far away, so that it's hard to not fight back, but it's hard for them to see you as the good father you are. It's very sad. Yeah. I've said to Christopher before, but it's more than this though. You got to be the best dad you can be. You got to be the best person you are. But they're really not even engaging. You're not even getting the chance to show hey, I'm a decent person.
Do you still try to reach out to them a lot, or is it too hard?
Do you have contact with them at all, Christopher? While he's answering that, I'm gonna go back to our guest, Joy Collins. Hello. So is there another trait that you think oh wow, this is a narcissistic trait, this is something I'm doing that's not right, besides what you just said?
Besides just talking about yourself, anything else?
Yeah, you weren't a good listener. You talked about yourself. That's definitely qualifies, but any more?
And I was talking bad stuff, about my friends behind their backs.
Okay.
Kind of like my
Talking.
mom's feeling, yeah.
Well, that's the example you had there. Mm-hmm. So, you're really more of an inspiration than you know, Joy, because you got out of it. You know what I mean? So you read self-help books, and what was the process? How long did it take? And as you're reading these books, did you say, "Oh my God, I've been doing this is," what was the revelation when you were reading the books?
And can you recommend a book?
Well, I read a lot of them, and at first they didn't sink in, but there was one book that really helped me was to win friends with people, because it was very easy to read, and there's a system, right? Dale Carnegie has Dale Carnegie rules, and if you follow them, then you're good. So that helped me the most. It took me a few years to finally get to that book. But I'm glad, discovered that book. Very helpful because it taught me how to have empathy, to have maturity, and to be a good listener. So I think that's kind of like a starting point of how to undo narcissism.
I like that.
That's excellent.
Makes sense. And you're gaining something from that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're practicing, what you're learning, then it gets you more motivated.
That's right, because I wanted to change, but I didn't know how. Like I didn't know what I need to change. And so, like I said, that really a system to kind of correct my behavior. It was very easy. And just followed it and practice. Then I felt like I became a better person.
So the book is Dale Carnegie is probably the most famous self-help author ever, and the book is called How to Win Friends and Influence People. When you read, I read it recently because I was curious, because almost every motivational book that you ever see is based on Dale Carnegie in some way. It's an update of it, or it quotes it, or it says it's a big influence. So when you read the original, it's a little out of date. It's like old-fashioned, but it is very organized, and it's like there's checklists, and each chapter is extremely organized with lots of examples. So if you read a book by Dale Carnegie, or a book influenced by Dale Carnegie, so I read this guy named Jeffrey Gitomer. It's more for business, but it's really about relationships in business. He's clearly 100% influenced by Dale Carnegie, but he's a modern author. So I would recommend that kind of stuff for self-esteem, for how to communicate, for how to listen, for how to gain empathy or show empathy. So you're a big success story, Joy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, and I know you're still struggling with dealing with your narcissistic mom. It's like you're disengaged a little bit, and you don't get as angry, but it's still an issue.
Do you use that book with your mom? Like the techniques that you learn, can you use it on your mom when you're with her?
I tried, but it's hard.
She's that bad, huh?
She's pretty one track.
But not to these stages. I just listen and I don't tell her things about me that she might use against me. So I just practice good listening. I'll be like, yes. And then I don't talk about myself.
Does she notice that? Does she notice that you don't talk about yourself?
No.
Okay, that's good.
You do. I know, like basically, I know the situation. If Joy tells her mom anything, her mom will immediately use that thing as a criticism, like immediately. Like
She'll twist it, right?
Yes. Yeah. Almost any fact that because sometimes you talk about personal stuff, like we moved, we got a house, we got a car, whatever, little day-to-day life things. And it seems like every time you give her any kind of like fuel for the fire, she will immediately have something to say.
Yes, most recently,
Good.
the car, because she asked me, what color is your car? So I said it's black. And she's like, why do you get that color? It's ugly. Why'd you get a black car? I'm like, it's my money. Why can't I
What do you think she would say if you said it was a blue car?
She might have better things to say if it were blue.
Oh, all right.
We shouldn't have said you should have gotten a black car.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
Levy, want to just read your question?
Yeah, go ahead, Levy.
Go ahead.
I said, are you nervous about the relationship with your mom and child on the way?
So
grandchild.
Right. So are you nervous about the relationship between your mom and your new child, which is coming in August? Just saying.
No, because we live kind of far away from my mom to see us too frequently. I think it's okay.
Okay, you feel okay. Just born again.
I do know, like, your mom already has things to say about who's going to come in the house and who's going to see the kid and how many people are in the house, and right. I mean, she's already set her little rules, right?
And she's not too happy that I got an air care because she's afraid that the air would sleep with my husband.
She's like, I don't know what the quality of this is, but she'll find something wrong with whatever.
It's always negative.
And also, tell me this isn't narcissistic. Always it's the joyous things.
Yeah.
She I happen to know Joanne bought she traded her car for a small SUV. And it's kind of a joyous event. It's not a big deal, but a new car, cool. Or like new house, cool. Oh, I have a baby on the way. That's great. Or we're able to get an au pair to stay in the house with us. Wow, that's a celebration. A, that we can afford it. B, that it's a good thing in life. But already
they're always looking at the negative.
Yeah,
That's right. Always.
It's people like that. It's hard.
You deal with it quite well, all things considered.
Yeah.
Let me read Christopher's comment. Thank you, Christopher. I try, but they're not responding, and I'm not going through her to talk to my daughter. And yes, I agree with trying to be the best father. So I'm just praying daily because I'm still having problems standing for lengths of time and still might need another transplant. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But thank God and you guys for dealing with all this so much better, because it was troubling me with guilt that I left 4 years ago. We're guilt relievers. That's what we do here.
Yeah.
But Christopher, that Dr. Bryman and myself, we're speaking also from experience. It's not just, we didn't just pick this topic. Like, we've been there, done that, and hopefully we've improved because of it. It's hard to, like, we sometimes say we're thankful for the experience. It's hard for you at this point to say you're thankful for the experience. I get it.
But you may be.
You may be eventually thankful that you left anyway, because you may not be alive now. You may be like, you know what I mean? And best of luck. You don't need a donor right now, but best of luck in the future if you do. It's a horrible situation to be in, especially when you don't have the support of your kids. Yeah. Okay, Joy, do you have what advice do you have for other people who have narcissistic parents? And I'm going to just add my usual statement. It doesn't matter if your parent fits the exact definition of narcissism. If they're emotionally abusive, all this stuff applies.
Emotionally immature.
I'm thankful for knowing. Oh, I'm glad, Christopher. Yeah. Because whether she's a narcissist or not, she's definitely emotionally immature, for sure. She definitely plays one person against the other. Well, she's a narcissist. She isn't. She plays one person against the other. She criticizes constantly. Her way is the only way. I know that. Her way is correct. Everyone else is wrong. These are narcissistic tendencies. They are somewhat cultural, but I think it goes beyond that. Anyway, what pieces of advice do you have for someone, an adult, let's say, stuck in a relationship with their parent who is narcissist, and they can't leave?
I see this so much. Even not that they don't even have to leave physically; they just can't get them out of their head.
No, that's true too. Right. Emotionally, they can't. They're taking up mental real estate.
Too much thinking.
What is that clicking? Can we get rid of it? Anyway.
I agree with Dr. Bryman. Sometimes I will wake up in the middle of 3 o'clock. And suddenly I got angry at my mom. Stupid when I'm thinking about it. But I just couldn't shake that anger 3 o'clock in the morning. So I would suggest talk to a therapist to kind of overcome these anger issues.
I definitely agree. Like, I think most people cannot get out of a narcissistic relationship without help, without therapeutic help. Like, you were lucky; you got books and you educated yourself, and you used the self-help books to the absolute maximum. You're like a great example of someone using a self-help book. Wendy is saying there's feedback when Joy is speaking.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's what that noise is.
Yeah.
Thanks, Wendy.
Sorry, we're working on it, Wendy. But is it? Can you hear? Do you have any questions for Joy? And hi, Wendy. Welcome back to the show. If you have any questions for Joy, please just ask. So yes, so you were fortunate. You educated yourself, books, and you used them to the maximum amount. But like, I will say this right here: like, I needed to consult with a therapist to fully get out of what I was into. It didn't take that long, thank God, but like, I also needed validation, verification, whatever you want to call it.
I needed to process what was going on. Because you feel like you're stuck. But did you feel like that? Did you seek therapy?
No. But I kind of regret I didn't therapy when I was younger. Because now I'm okay. And I issues mostly by myself and reading books. But I wish when I was younger, I wish I had seen a therapist. It would help me over a lot of negative feelings, anger, a lot faster than it took me like at least 40 years.
At least you did, though.
A therapist can do it. A therapist could do it in 30. We could do it in 30 years, no problem.
No promises.
Yeah, no promises. Can't really predict these things, but
Around that.
I definitely recommend self-help books. I recommend books specifically on narcissism, which there's a whole bunch on the shelf. Someday we got to talk about those again. I definitely recommend it, but sometimes, and in my case also, sometimes it helps to hear from another professional who had experience with it or knows a lot about it. It does help. It helps you gain perspective. It helps you know it's not just you. So I do recommend actually group therapy, support group, or individual therapy. But certainly read the book. Certainly get out there, work on your self-esteem. What other advice do you have, Joy, for people out there who are stuck in a parental narcissistic relationship? And some of you have gone no contact, but I suspect many people are in relationships where they either can't, won't, or it's not a good idea to go no contact. So any other advice?
Yeah. For my situation, I couldn't go no contact, but my advice would be to work on the anger issue and to disengage. And it's very hard to disengage, right, and not to put in emotions, but I'm trying. So I would say that's the most important is like to work on the anger issue, because that really affects me a lot. Like I said, sometimes at 3:00 in the morning, I wake up and I'm angry. And so that's obviously not healthy. So I would say the anger issue for me, that's like the most important thing to overcome.
Christopher says validation for sure.
Validation for sure. You want to read it?
Because if you would tell what you're going through, people would think you're nuts. Yeah.
Yes. So it's super important to find someone who sort of knows about it or understands or like who's been there. Because you said this quite a few times. If you tell the wrong person and they say, well, why don't you just get over it? Or what do you mean? They're such a nice person. Like, that's not going to help too much.
I heard somebody say, there's 3 sides to every story.
No, there's not.
No.
Not with a narcissist. Sometimes there are. Yeah, like, that doesn't help anyone. Well, there's 2 sides to every story. In this case, there really isn't. No. Like, there's nothing, I know this for a fact, there's nothing that Joy Collins is doing in any way incorrect or wrong to warrant what her mother says to her, because she's a great daughter. Yeah. I'm going to read, let's see.
Amy Denona.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
I agree with what you mentioned earlier. If there's something that is positive or something I could be looking forward to, there's always a comment made trying to make me second guess it or minimize the excitement. Thank you for coming on, Joy. Ooh. Amy, you're right. They will, because now I'm talking about my experience, not Joy's. So I was married to a narcissist for 5 years. So if there was a holiday or a birthday or a celebration of any kind, or I was proud of something that happened at work, or a new venture, or a new office, or a new shirt. I mean, look, whatever it was, there would be a negative. And it, like, seriously, 100% of the time, she would ruin good times, happy times, celebrations, pride, if I'm proud of something or wanted to celebrate something at work, especially at work. Woohoo, it's fixed. Thank you, Wendy. The feedback, that is. Oh, I thought we fixed everyone here. Oh, well. Amen, Christopher. I agree. LaDonna Delera. Ah, love that name.
Hi, LaDonna.
My father was court ordered to leave me alone. He went out of his way to keep control of me, even after his wow. And I know what you mean. That even if they're gone, they can still put things in place to control you.
Oh my
gosh. Joy, any other advice for? So can I want to ask Joy something. I know that there's still like, she'll have a conversation with her mom, and then, like, days later she'll suddenly get angry, but she knows why. I mean, it's not out of nowhere. So that is something you still have to work on, that anger with what your mom does. Somehow you have to disengage. But I want to try, this is just a thought experiment, okay? I'm not suggesting this. What would happen, Joy, if you went no contact with your mom? I know the situation, you can't, you won't, but what would happen if you did? I'm just thinking through in your mind. You say, you know what? I'm not going to go to my mom's anymore. I'm going to break all contact.
I think at this point in my life, she doesn't bother me as much anymore, so I don't need to go no contact with her. Because I heard of worse stories than mine, and so like I said, at this point in my life, because I don't live too close to my mom, so I don't see her that often, and I don't talk to her that often. So I think this distance is good, and I don't need to go no contact with her at this point.
Here's another little thought process experiment. What if your mom's words were just her words, and you didn't have to take anything in? You're just you. You're the best you could be, and you should just, it's like, Peanuts, wah, 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 wah.
I try to do more so nowadays, but sometimes it still bothers me a little. That's why I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning angry. But I am trying to work on that. Like, whatever she says, it's not. I try not to bother me.
Yeah.
I mean, she has no real influence on you. Like, just so everyone knows, like, Joy's in her 40s. It's not, we're not kids here. Are you able to most of the time establish, like, Dad, it's just words, it's just my mom, and it's like, I'm going to ignore it. I'm just going to go, yeah. Or in Chinese, doya, 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 doya. It means like, So there's a movie, what was the movie? The Goodbye or Farewell? There was a movie called The Farewell. It delves into Asian culture. And what was the expression in that movie that the girl uses with her mother or her grandmother?
I know. 我知道.
No, it's like a gray rock.
Yeah. That's good.
And that's a good technique to use.
What can she do at 3 a.m?
What can you do at 3 a.m. When you wake up angry?
Are you frustrated because she doesn't see you clearly? Because anger and frustration are related. Anger and frustration are related.
Probably more angry in that, like, just for her to say those things to me, very insensitive, and she just basically says what she wants to say because, she feels like she's right all the time, and she's, she has the right to say that to everyone. And that gets me mad, that she has no empathy, no consideration, no kindness for others. And she can just say all those things to hurt other people. But when other people say similar things back to her, then she gets very angry. And she would call me and complain to me about those people who were mean to her. And she would complain like, how dare that person said those things to me, blah, blah, blah. And, so that gets me angry because there's no empathy, right? She said the same things to other people to hurt other people, and she's okay with it. But when other people said it back to her, she gets all angry.
The injustice and the irony is getting to you. Let me just read these. Let me read these real quick. Seems like she lacks empathy. My mom was like that, Wendy says. Words hurt. They do hurt.
You're right. You're on the same page as Wendy.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
LaDonna Dellera. I have to say the whole name. My father used others to shame me. When I tried to do no contact, he would call my friends and family and tell them how bad I was for not talking to him. They believed I was the bad daughter. Yep, that sounds absolutely like a narcissist tactic. And I think that Joy's mom does that too. I'm not sure.
Yes.
So what do you think you could say to yourself at 3 a.m. when you remember that conversation you had with your mom earlier? What can you say, like Dr. Bryman just said, can you say to yourself, they're just her words, they're just her thoughts, they're not my thoughts. It's like, that's my mom, it's just words.
That's how her brain works.
I do understand Wendy, your words do hurt. I mean, this is adults. But at the same time, what can you say to yourself to distance your emotions from her?
Yes, I'm going to try that next time, that it's just her words. And they should not mean anything to me, because what does she know?
Yeah.
To stand outside the situation, usually most people you're in the situation, you want to know what they say, you want to know their feeling, like a normal conversation I would have with a friend or a colleague. You want to know their opinion, you want to give your opinion, you want to go back and forth. But you got to stand outside the conversation, and I like the way you phrased it. I really like it a lot.
The blah blah blah.
Yeah, blah blah blah. You remember?
Blah, blah, blah.
Did you ever see the Peanuts cartoons, like the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and all?
Yes.
When the parents have no voice, they go like wah 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 wah. Like they have
the adults have the teacher,
right?
parents, nothing. Yeah. They have nothing.
And so that's how you have to think of it. Your mom, she's just making noise. It's
Yes,
literally
you're right.
noise.
Yes, you're right.
And the conversation she's having with you is over here, but your consciousness is over here. Those are just her words.
Yeah.
It's tough, but if you practice, look, you know better than anyone. You practice the stuff in Dale Carnegie's book, and look where you are now. So if you practice some of this stuff, it will start working. It does work. Most of the time you're not angry, but it does happen.
You'll be distracted with the baby soon.
Yeah, soon you won't care.
Yes, that's true.
Do you think Lucy was a narcissist?
Lucy, yeah. Lucy Van Pelt was her name in the Peanuts cartoons. She was a narcissist. She used to hold the football for Charlie Brown, and Charlie Brown would run up and kick it, and she would pull it away at the last second. She was a sadist.
Yeah, she was mean.
But she was also a therapist, if you remember.
Psychiatrist.
Anyway, right? Psychiatric help, 5 cents. Anyway, so listen, we're going to have to wrap it up now. So please, all 6 of you, I want you to tune in next Thursday at 5:30. We're having a $100 prize for a trivia contest. We have 50 questions. We're going to study. We're going to read every
All the
one of the
terms.
questions, and the first person to answer gets a point. And we're going to give Joy Collins the honor of keeping score. And then
You need a buzzer.
yeah, and whoever wins, we will mail you $100 instantaneously, or Zelle, or whatever you prefer. So please put it on your calendar right now, and we'll be advertised. But it's going to be next Thursday, 5:30, right here. So please contact us at the numbers that we gave, and tell your friends and all that stuff.
Share and subscribe.
If you want to see this whole broadcast, you can go on YouTube, because it gets posted there. There's a little bit of a delay, but it does eventually get posted. So first, let's please give Joy Collins a round of applause, or the equivalent. Brave person. She's in real life, she's pretty shy.
That's great.
I'm going to wait a minute for comments, because they may want to say goodbye to Joy or whatever. So we're going to wait just a couple of minutes. Joy, thank you so much for sharing your personal journey through a narcissistic mother into your own self, and now hopefully you're no longer a narcissist, because you're not. You're the furthest thing from a narcissist I can imagine, honestly. Seriously.
Yeah.
So, on behalf of our audience and myself, there you go. Thank you for sharing, Wendy says. Thank you, Joy. LaDonna De Elra says. Levy says, thanks, Joy. And I'm sure-
Thanks, Joy.
Thanks, Joy. We
Sure,
appreciate
anytime.
it.
Sure, anytime.
All right, we're going to say goodbye today, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Okay?
Bye.
Bye-bye.